the philosophy of sleep and the four states of consciousness. This type of information is the type of information that may require you to have a pen and a paper, okay? Because you might want to revisit this at some point. I also post these videos on YouTube. My YouTube handle is Coach Veronica Marie. You can just type that in the search bar. There are three distinct states of consciousness, which everyone is familiar with: waking, dream, and deep sleep. We go through each of these three states every day, changing our perception of reality with each different state. This waking state of consciousness we are so used to, with the image, concept, and name for ourselves, is not, hold on, I need my glasses, or some light, one of the two. So let's try this again. There are three distinct states of consciousness which everyone is familiar with: waking, dream, and deep sleep. We go through each of these states every day, changing our perception of reality with each different state. This waking state of consciousness we are so used to, with the image, concept, and name for ourselves, is not as solid and as real as we think it is. When we fall asleep, the waking consciousness is left behind and we take on a new identity, quote unquote. In the dream state, the new identity thinks that everything that is happening in the dream is real. But upon waking, one realizes that nothing really happened. In the deep sleep state, where there are no dreams, we are absorbed into the transcendental state, which is beyond time and space. Upon waking from the deep sleep state of consciousness, we do not remember anything, but we remember a feeling of deep rest and recreation of our emotional and psychological selves. Hey, Nova, and I'll stop right there. There's some people who don't dream, but they wake up feeling refreshed. They wake up feeling reset. They wake up feeling light. So if we look at what this Kemetic Yoga book is saying, it's saying that those people were in deep sleep. And in deep sleep is when we visit the void or the all mind. And from there, we feel rejuvenated and rested. Ashe. So this is when you wake up feeling rejuvenated and rested or activated, or you have downloads, or you feel super spiritually sensitive. You have visited the void in your sleep, which is a state of consciousness beyond the dreamscape. In all of the three regular states of consciousness just described, there is one constant factor: a constantly changing state of mental awareness. Hey, Gun. Change, therefore, implies that these three states do not qualify for the definition of absolute reality. I'm going to read that again. Change, because these states of mind change, it implies that these three states do not qualify for the definition of absolute reality, ma'at, as previously discussed. We talked about that before. Whatever it is that we call us, our essence, that makes us unique, that which thinks thoughts and has desires, that which we call a soul, the innermost I, is really the unchanging witness of all three states. Did you pick up what it put down? There's a connecting factor in all three states. The states themselves are not absolute reality because they change. However, the witness, which is the innermost I, does not change, and it remains constant through all three of the states. Through ignorance of its true nature, however, the soul identifies with the three different states of mental consciousness. Thus, it becomes it becomes bound to the reality with which it is currently involved. Thus, it will always be caught in one of these states of consciousness at any given point in time. In other words, we're going to be caught in one of these three states, and the one that we dwell in or identify with is going to determine our ability to experience reality. The waking dream and deep sleep states of consciousness are only illusory mental states. Again, the waking, dream, and deep sleep states of consciousness are only illusory mental states. No one can maintain a perpetual mental state of wakefulness, dream, or deep sleep. All of these states are therefore illusions, transient projections of reality, which we must transcend, as the search for our true self is really a search for the thing about us which is constant. The search for the true self is really the search for the quality about us, the thing about us that is unchanging, that is constant. Does that make sense? So if you search for yourself in anything that can change, you have not reached the innermost I. Let's continue. These three states are only a reflection of truth. However, they offer a clue to the truth, the one constant, our innermost self, which is the spectator in all modes of consciousness, waking, dream, and sleeping states. There must be a fourth state, then, of absolute truth beyond these three familiar states. So far, so good? Yeah, taking notes. Gotcha. Okay. So, what I love about this book is that it sets you up for the understanding. It's very logical. I love it. I love the way it flows. Just as it is possible to wake up in the morning from the dream state into the everyday state of waking consciousness, it is possible to wake up from the normal day-to-day consciousness into a higher state of consciousness or enlightenment. Thus, what we currently perceive to be our day-to-day consciousness becomes another form of the dream state of consciousness. Okay, just as it's possible to wake up in the morning from the dream state into the everyday state of waking consciousness, it is possible to wake up from the normal day-to-day consciousness into a higher state. The problem occurs when we forget that we are really dreaming and get caught up in the events of the dream, believing that what is happening is real. We lack the higher state of consciousness. This situation can be equated to watching a movie. If we remember throughout the movie that we are just onlookers, we remain detached from the experience of the pain or pleasure being portrayed by the actors. Our emotions remain intact as long as we remember that we are only watching a movie and that no one is really getting hurt or really happy. However, the moment we forget to keep that mental distance, we become caught up in the movie. When we identify with the actors and characters, we suffer or experience joy along with the characters being portrayed. Thus, we cry or laugh with them. In reality, however, the actors who are portraying the characters did not experience true suffering or joy. It was our identification with illusions created by the movie that caused us to suffer or experience pleasure when in fact nothing really happened. I want you to pause right there and take that in, because I'm constantly talking to empaths and admonishing them to stop absorbing other people's energy. And a lot of times they tell me they can't help it. And I believe they can't help it because they don't know that there is another way or other ways to live this in this life perceiving energy. They think they have to absorb it into their system. And what I say is a lot of times you're not feeling the other person's pain. You're feeling your pain that is activated as you identify with what they're going on, having whatever they have going on or are experiencing. Does that make sense? So this just said basically the same thing, right? It was our identification, was your thoughts, the identification with the illusion created by the movie, yes, that caused us to suffer or experience pleasure when in fact nothing really happened. It's your identification. I'm going to say it again. It's your identification. You are putting yourself in the situation and seeing it from your point of view based upon your conditioning, your mind, and your pain, but you are calling it theirs. It makes perfect sense, right? And so sometimes people don't like me to say that because they need to romanticize absorbing energy because it feels spiritual, because it makes them feel connected to others. So the moment I say you're not feeling their pain, you're feeling your pain, their ego flexes against it because they have identified with doing this. I'm an empath and I have to. I just walk around and I feel everything. You are a multi-dimensional being. But if you only live on the realm of Ka, then you walk around feeling everything and you get plugged into that state. It's an illusion. You can know that an energy is present without processing it through your system. You can still know that. I can know that you're angry without feeling angry. I can know that you're in pain without feeling the pain. But if I don't know how to create the mental distance because I feel like I have to, or I don't know that there is a mental distance to be had, or I think this is just a natural way of connecting, then I am going to feel other people's pain mostly, because most people who absorb energy are usually identifying with someone's pain. Usually. It's less often that they identify with someone's excitement. They don't walk around going, oh, I woke up excited today. Who is excited? Let me go find out. Oh, my mama was excited. That's why I was feeling excited. They don't do that. They wake up feeling anxiety and they'll go, is this mine or is this someone else's? Let me call my friend. Oh, I know it's my daughter who had anxiety. But they're very rarely plugging into joy or bliss or pleasure. And why is that? Because there's so much identification with pain and suffering on the realm of the Ka. You can be an empath and not feel other people's pain. You don't need to feel other people's pain to be motivated to help. You can get instruction from spirit without feeling other people's pain. But if pain is your instructor, then you'll be moving in helplessness. And you'll be feeling bad because you couldn't help someone. And you'll be fearing that they look at you a particular way because you didn't help. It produces all kind of suffering. It's ignorance of the true nature of reality that creates suffering. Can you receive that? Do you see it? Hey, Elle, how you doing? Does this make sense? I'm reading from the book, okay? When you watch a movie, let me give you a personal experience. So, I think I told y'all last night that I really enjoyed that series, The Vikings. It used to be on the History Channel. It's now on Prime. I started identifying with the characters. So remember, I told you that there's a main character who is a shield maiden called Lagertha. And I just identified with Lagertha. It's like I understood that character. And I understood Ragnar, and I watched them grow, and I watched that series for 5 years. So I felt like I was growing up with them when nothing was happening, but my nervous system couldn't tell the difference. So when this one is up, I'm up, and they're down, and they're facing adversity, and they're fighting, and oh no, and my emotions are going everywhere with the cast, and nothing is happening. Why is that? Because I put myself, my own pain, my own perspective, my own self in those situations, and I begin to be one with them. And it was a movie. It didn't even really happen. Let me give you another example. I've been in spaces where I have told a story from my past, right? And I was no longer in pain as I was telling the story. I was reflecting, right? But I have had several experiences over time where I'm talking about the reflection, and then I look at the person and they're crying. And they would say, I just feel your pain, and I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this right now. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm not experiencing that right now. I'm not even in pain in this moment. And so the person would say, I have to absorb. I feel other people's energy. No, you feel your own energy through your interpretation. Thank you, Nikki. But if you're very identified with, I'm an empath and I have to do that. If I tell you I'm not in pain, you're not going to receive that because you must be feeling my pain because that's what you do. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. I have 4 children, right? And so I care about children. You know, obviously it goes without saying, I care about mine. But my love for my children extended to other children as well, right? And this was before I knew, hey Nikki, this was before I knew about energetic hygiene. I also thought I had to absorb other people's energy. So let's say I was out in the store and I saw a parent yelling and berating a child. All of a sudden, my heart would ache. Oh, I just want to help that parent. Oh, talking to that baby like that. Oh, I just feel the child's pain. No, you don't, Veronica. You are experiencing what it feels like to not have mental distance between you and another person's pain. So now you think that you're experiencing the child's pain. You're experiencing your interpretation of what is going on. So I'm going to read it again. In reality, however, the actors who are portraying the characters did not experience true suffering or joy. It was our identification with the illusion created by the movie that caused us to suffer or experience joy, when in fact, nothing really happened. Nothing really happened. This part is in my Presence book called Presence, The Empowered Empath's Guide. Hey, B-side. But I think I put it in self-intimacy also because it's a big part of knowing thyself. If you've been walking around thinking you feel other people's pain when it's really your unresolved pain, I think that's important. Okay, so similarly, let's continue. In our practical life, as we identify with our soul's consciousness, the actor, with our ego, mind, and body, the character, We find ourselves on the roller coaster ride of emotions, alternating between extreme pleasure and extreme pain. So, again, here's an analogy. Similarly to what I just described with the movie, nothing was really happening, but you identified. In other words, you put yourself inside the story of the character and viewed it from inside as opposed to being an observer. Similarly, in our practical life, in our everyday life, as we identify with our soul consciousness, the actor, with our ego, mind, and body, the character, the actor is the person portraying the character. Okay, so it's two different things. You have the actor of Denzel Washington portraying a character. I hope that makes sense. So, in our practical life, as we identify with our soul consciousness, that's the actor, with our ego, mind, and body, the character, the persona, we find ourselves on a roller coaster ride of emotions, alternating between extreme pleasure and extreme pain. We need not have studied high philosophy to have already figured out that nothing lasts forever and that what goes up will eventually come down and vice versa. The Hermetic principles tell us that in the law of polarity and the principle of rhythm, right? The wave This wave-like form of existence is also represented by the serpent Apophis. Remember, we talked about Apep last night, Apophis rather. Therefore, the illusion. Do you remember that from last night? Therefore, as with the roller coaster ride at the amusement park, the only way to fully enjoy the ride, this life, is to think of it as a temporary occurrence, knowing that at the end of its ups and downs, one will be unharmed. One must know that the soul is unaffected and unchanged by the ups and downs which are experienced by the ego personality. Your ego will go up and down, round and round in interpretations, meaning you're going to feel some emotional instability when you are led by your ego and when you dwell on the realm of the illusions of duality, right, wrong, good, bad, judgment, fear, shame, guilt, defensiveness. When you dwell in that realm, you're going to be emotionally up and down, up and down, up and down. There was a book that I read some years ago called Spiritual Solutions, I think it was called. It's on my Amazon storefront. It was called Spiritual Solutions, I think, by Deepak Chopra. Anyway, this is the analogy he gave. Let's say you get out your car, you go inside, you unlock your door, you have your keys, and then you misplace your keys. You then go looking for your keys outside, even though you had to use the keys to go in and you didn't go back out, but yet still you go search for the keys outside. That's what most people do with problems. They dwell on the level of the problem. They fuss back and forth on the level of the problem. They look for the keys outside and they never find them because the key is not outside. The key is actually inside. Most people, when they argue, most people, when they debate, most people, when they dwell in their ego of right, wrong, good, bad, judgment, all of that stuff, I like it too. Most people are looking for the keys outside. That's why they never can resolve a problem. That's why they're stuck in these cycles of villainizing other people and shame within themselves. Because problems cannot get resolved when you're looking elsewhere. This book consistently lays out what the true problems are. And if you leave from these teachings still calling the problems the same thing that you called them before you came into the teaching, you are looking for the keys outside. Are you going to keep looking for your keys outside? Keep the same blame, the same resentment, the same perspectives, knowing that you are the creator of this experience? You're going to keep the same ones that keep you down. You're going to keep the same ones that keep you low. You're going to keep the same perspectives that keep you from the fullness and the richness of who you are. Or do you want to evolve? Do you want to shift? That's a valid question, because some people don't want to. They don't want to because it's scary. Because I've been doing this my whole life. And what would life look like if I stopped saying this is a problem? What would life look like if I stopped blaming this person? What would life look like if I actually released this perspective and took on another? Because a lot of people identify with their past. Their identity is in the past. And so let's say they had a past failure. And you could say, I understand that that felt like failure, because when you don't get what you want, it hurts. It's hard, especially when it's something big. But I want you to know that failure is not real. Well, I still feel like it, and then they keep vouching for it over and over and over again. They have to stay right there. It's called pre-contemplation. That is in my book called Presence. All right. So if we continue to identify on the level of the problem, the answers are not there. If we continue to identify with a lower perspective and narrative of a situation, the resolution is not going to be found there. If we keep holding the contraction of the pain and not shifting our reality, the answers are not found there. The suffering is there. The emotional roller coaster is there. We're going to experience some fluctuations in emotions because every emotion has a different frequency. But what we don't need to be on is an emotional roller coaster. We don't need to be on that. But that means that you would have to take these teachings and these studies and implement them daily with consistency. When I was reading this from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, someone asked how long until it's natural. Until it's natural. Until you no longer see life the same way. Until when you think about the situation, your new perspective comes in like natural. It says that some comments in this live were filtered. So I don't know what's being said, but I can't see your comment. In order to maximize, we're going back to sleep, okay? In order to maximize one's deep, well, before I move on, did that make sense? Or do you need an example of how to stop looking for the keys outside? It's a freeing conversation. Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Okay. It makes sense. You got it. Okay. Ashe. Understand. All right. Good deal. All right. Let's go back to reading. In order to maximize one's sleep experience and gradually introduce conscious awareness during the dream state, one should spend a few minutes affirming one's intention to remain conscious during the dream experience and to remember the dreams. We could start there. They may not use this word here, but lucid is what a lot of people are talking about. If your deepest self is the same self that experiences waking, sleep, and deep sleep, then you are never asleep, which means your consciousness can become aware even in the dream state. It can. And if you wish to become aware in the dream state, it's a practice. Anyone who lucid dreams regularly will usually tell you it's a practice. Now, some people spontaneously do it, and I've spontaneously done it, right? And some people do it naturally. But for others, this is a practice of awakening while your avatar is asleep. So the first thing you can do is spend a few minutes affirming one's intention to remain conscious before you go to sleep. I remain conscious. I will remain conscious. Simple as that. I will remain conscious. I am conscious when I dream. I become more conscious in my dream. I dream in consciousness, right? Saying something like that. And to remember the dreams. My dreams are easily remembered by me. I can recall my dreams easily. Now, let me tell you, wait, I'm on my bed right now. So let me show you what I keep under my pillow, because dreams are a real thing for me daily. This selenite. Selenite is really good for dream recall and vividness of dreams. That's not in this book. I'm just telling you that because I know it. Anytime I charge up my selenite and I put it under my pillows, and I keep it under my pillows. And then sometimes when I change my sheets and such, I'll forget and put it on the nightstand. And I notice a difference between the quality of my awareness in my dreams versus when I have it under my pillow. So there's a nugget right there. Any of you have selenite? Have you, any of you practiced with it? Now we're talking about spiritual practice, not, yeah. Mm-hmm. Really, yes. All right, here's more advice of becoming more conscious in the dream state. If you just popped on, I'm reading from Egyptian Yoga, The Philosophy of Enlightenment by Dr. Muata Ashby. Everything that I learned about lucid dreaming, I learned it before I came into contact with these teachings. And it's a very similar process. Yeah. Cleanse it, set your intention over it, and keep it under your pillow and watch. Okay. Fall asleep. Here's more. Fall asleep on the right side with one's right hand between the pillow and the face. On the right side. Okay, black obsidian is good, but it's not quite the same energy, right? It's really good though. Fall asleep on the right side with your hand between your face and the pillow. The left hand should be placed on the left thigh. Even though it is likely that the body will move out of this position during the night, one should still attempt to fall asleep in this position. This position will allow the left nostril to be open, thereby allowing the moon breath, which is most beneficial during this time for spiritual and physical health. As soon as one wakes up, one should bring one's consciousness to the present moment and then recall the dream events and write them down. This is a practice. You sleep like that already. And there's some science to that, right? Also, when we get up from Shavasana in yoga, we roll on the right side first, and you may your head will be on your arm, your hand on your side, knees bent, right? Before we come out of Shavasana. So this is extending from Kemetic Study through Indian yoga, and maybe in some of the consciousness in people here. Like Nikki said, she sleeps like that already. Okay. The symbolism, so you got to wake up and write it down. For me, I send voice notes to my best friend. As soon as I wake up, I call my consciousness together because I take a moment and breathe. And if I have a dream that is really significant, then I'm going to tell it to her in that voice note because I know we're going to talk about it later. Let's continue. So the essence of falling asleep on the right side, is allowing the moon breath, the left nostril, which is an energetic channel. When you talk about Chinese medicine, yeah, yep. Let's continue. As soon as one wakes up, one should bring one's consciousness to the present moment and then recall the dream events and write them down. The symbolism and events may carry important intuitional messages, which may be readily apparent individually or over a period of time when seen as a group of dreams. We're talking about the nature of sleep and consciousness. So you just got your homework. Who is going to do the homework? I'm curious. Dreams have been a huge part of my existence since I was a child. And I continue to fine tune my ability to dream, my ability to understand and interpret them. So let me tell you about me and dream. You are too good, Penny, beside. This is me. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just talking about me and my dream practice because dreams are a very important part of my world, right? I never look at a dream catalog. I never Google what a symbol means because I know that my subconscious is uniquely coded from my experiences and the way that I see things. And let me give you an example. Since childhood, I have had an affinity for snakes. Love them. My mom tells the story that every time she would bring me to the zoo, I was looking for the snakes. And when they allowed us to touch them, I wanted to touch the snakes, but I was scared of birds. My mom, she loves telling that story, the lion's corner, right? Right now, I don't have any of it on, but all of my jewelry is snakes. Snakes come and they deliver messages to me, right? So even in everyday life, if I'm hiking, I'll see a snake, or someone who's connected to me will see snakes or dream of snakes. Let me tell you, B-side, I've come a long way with birds. I've come a long way. I've desensitized my nervous system a great deal, but still don't come that close because I'm still recalibrating. I don't know why, but my mom used to keep parakeets, and those parakeets used to get out of the cage and they would fly all around. You have 3 snakes, Nikki. Let me tell you. The movie, we could talk. We could talk for hours about the birds thing. I am even getting goosebumps, right? As my nervous system, we fine. Like I have to breathe. If a bird is around, I have to bring my intention in. This bird is not harmful to me. This bird is not malicious to me. This bird is natural, just as natural as a squirrel, just as natural as an ant, just as natural. I have to go through all of that if a bird is really close to me, right? Birds eat snakes, connection, ashe, which makes sense, right? So from childhood, I have had a deep love for snakes. Some other people are scared of snakes. So if they see a snake in their dream, the interpretation is going to be different than when I see it. So this is why I don't like using the dream catalog, because symbolism is highly individualistic. Now, am I saying you can't get a message from there? No. Maybe you read it and you learn something about the animal or symbol that you didn't know before, which adds additional clarity. You know, like for example, the Lion's Corner pointed out that snakes eat birds. Maybe if I looked in the dream catalog, I could see that connection and maybe make a deeper connection. But see, the dream catalog is a tool to help sharpen. So you gotta read the dream catalog and then see where it resonates. Does it resonate as truth within you? And when someone is interpreting your dream, understand that they may be interpreting it by their symbolism. So whenever a person is asking me to help them understand a dream, I want to understand their symbolism. I want to understand, what does the symbol mean to you? What has been your experience with it? I want to know, what kind of emotions were you experiencing in the dream? Because when the snake shows up for me, I experience attentiveness and vigilance. Someone else may see it and feel fear. right? So going back to the situation where I saw the snake in my bed, later I realized that message was, you are not going to stay together. There's going to be a separation, and that separation is going to be about your femininity and your feminine energy. In the Bible, notice that the serpent speaks to Eve. The serpent awakens the woman. In the Bible, that story is told negatively. She was disobedient, right? And calls it a crime to be like God or want to be like God. So we understand that by that time, all spiritual systems that said you are God were being demonized. And so the serpent is in the story saying that this is wrong and don't you ever think that you're God. Because to be like God means you're going to be cast out. To know good from evil, to become less ignorant or evolved is a crime. Don't you ever do that, because you see what happened to Adam and Eve. Don't do that. There's a reasoning for it being in there, right? So anyway, going back to dreams, write your dreams down or speak them into voice memo or a video or whatever it is. So I saw several of you are going to begin this dream practice. So number one, you're going to set the intention as you're settling down in the bed. I could give you a whole lot of other rituals to do, but I think this is simple enough to remember. As you're settling into bed, set the intention that I will become more and more conscious in my dreams. In fact, I am conscious in my dreams. When I dream, I am conscious. Hey, Ashe. And I recall my dreams easily. And a womb diary. I recall my dreams. My dreams flow through my system easily. And I receive the messages and the coding from them easily. That's your Hika. Remember, we talked about your divine power to direct energies through sound. Then you're going to lay on your right side, putting your hand between your face and the pillow, your left hand on your left thigh, so that your moon breath is available. And then you're going to wake up and tell someone about it, record it, and such. And if you want to add a little extra, cleanse your selenite in whatever way you cleanse it. For my selenite, I like to rub salt, pink salt, on it, set the cleansing intention, then rinse it, and then reprogram it, right? Reprogramming it is however you want to hold it. You don't have to hold it like this. You can hold it like this, or just hold it in your hand, or simply just speak to it, right? Set the intention. I intend to recall my dreams, the same intention, and I intend to be more conscious, and I intend to be in deep understanding of my dreams when I awaken. And then you can put it under your pillow. Let's continue. In ancient times, dreams were seen as communications between one's waking self and one's astral intermediate self. I believe this. You know that you have more than a physical body, right? You have subtle bodies also, which are energetic in nature. And because we don't know proper energetic hygiene, because we don't know that we actually have these bodies, then we walk around with some energy that needs to be shifted. I'm choosing how I use those words, because I really don't like to look at energy as being blocked, because no energy is ever just standing still in a blocked type of situation. But the flow, the natural flow, is altered. Maybe it has slowed down, right, rather than at its natural speed. So anyway, in ancient times, dreams were seen as communication between parts of yourself: the waking self, the one that's awake now, and the astral self. As such, under the proper guidance and understanding, one could expect to receive insight into one's life problems and assistance in determining one's direction in life. The assistance coming from one's higher self or from benevolent natures. In New Age and metaphysics, we may use the term spiritual guides. Thank you, Lion's Corner. It is important not to overindulge in dream deciphering, since the dream state is, after all, only another variant state of consciousness. So we're not going to get so stuck in the dream state that you just want to keep going to sleep to have the dreams. Keep going to sleep, keep going to sleep. No, we're not trying to go farther and farther into an illusion. In some of my dreams, the beings in my dreams trying to mute my voice and freeze my movements. Do you become lucid in there, in those dreams? Remember that your dreams are not an absolute state. It must be realized that until one is fully enlightened, dreams are colored by mental illusions, and therefore must be viewed with a dispassionate and detached eye. In other words, don't go too far with this. You don't want to go from one illusion, the waking state, to an obsession with another illusion. We want to take it as it comes. If it doesn't come, ashe, set the intention, keep going. In other words, right? From an initiatic point of view, the waking state of consciousness is the most important, because it is only when we are awake that we can make conscious effort to learn spiritual teachings. And it is in this waking state that we can most easily control our thoughts and actions in an effort to achieve self-discovery. So let me give you an example. And there, I could go so far with this. There are different kinds of dreams, right? Some dreams are your subconscious speaking to you about your real thoughts, how you really see a thing, okay? So I'm gonna pause right here. How y'all doing with this? Is it interesting? It must be interesting because y'all still here. If you haven't reposted the live, please do. If you haven't shared it and you have a friend that enjoys talking about this kind of stuff, share it. Thank you. If you are finding this to be helpful and informational, please tap the screen. You have homework. We got homework, y'all. Okay. Mental energy. Mental energy is supported by the eternal life force which pervades all things. It is the same energy that makes the grains grow. Mental energy is supported by the eternal life force which pervades all things. It is the same energy that makes the grass grow, the sun shine, and manifests in people as the desire to survive, live on, and to seek happiness. A seed of a plant may fall in any given plot of land. So too, the individual soul may incarnate in any given body. In order to grow well and reach its full potential, the proper nutrients, such as minerals in the soil and enough sunlight, must be available. If they are not, there is a possibility that the plant may become stunted or susceptible to disease. If the plant's internal life force is getting strong enough, it may overcome the added obstacles to its growth by extending its branches and or roots to a better location in order to acquire the materials it needs to succeed. Like plant life, the human mind is pushed to be born. Thank you for that. Thank you. Is pushed to be born, to grow, to survive, and to reach its full potential. The life force energy, Ra, also spirit, is ever present and relentlessly pushing the mind and body to evolve or grow. Whether the mind is willing or able to deal with the changes in life or not. Let's pause right here. The life force energy that is running through your whole system and pervading all of life is constantly offering opportunities for you to grow. Everyone. Everyone is receiving opportunities to grow through every experience, right? And this is happening whether the mind is ready or not. This is happening whether the mind is ready or not. This is happening whether the mind is ready or not. So if you're not ready, you're not missing something. There's this idea that if you don't move in a certain window of time, you will miss what's for you. You never can miss what's for you, because the life force, which is pervasive in all of life, is constantly giving you opportunities to evolve. You're not missing out on anything. That thing that didn't work, you didn't lose. That situation that didn't turn out the way that you wanted to, you're not missing. The person that didn't see you and understand you from the point that you wanted to be seen and understood from, you didn't lose. Because your life force is constantly offering opportunities. We get so hooked into this illusion of reality that we get attached to people and things and jobs and the way things should look and how you should behave. We get very attached to that, and we forget that the goal of all of it is evolution. So whether you're getting it or not getting it, where is the point of evolution in that experience? That should be the question. Whether the manifestation is here or not, where is the point of evolution for me? Because this is only being presented for my evolution. It's a constant process. You're not going to get left behind. There's some people who are going to progress and take these opportunities quickly because their veil is thin due to the work that they've done. And there's some people who need more time and they're going to progress more slowly. And it is not a situation where you can lose. Type Ashe if you believe that. You're constantly being offered these opportunities, whether you're ready or not. But nothing is forcing you to change. Nothing is forcing you to change. It's only presenting opportunity. Hey, Fuzzy. Nothing is testing you to see if you still somewhere. That's not true. Sometimes we like to give human qualities to spirit and act like spirit has a brain and acts like a human. The humans test others. Oh, I just waited to see how they was going to react. I waited to see if they were going to do it again. That's human. That's the realm of the Ka. Hey, DJ. That is not the realm of the Ba. That is not the realm of spirit. Hey, Jay. The spirit wants to reach its full potential, Aruhood. But in becoming identified with the ego, it seeks fulfillment in illusory endeavors, mental concepts, and earthly relationships. Did you get that? Your Ba, your spirit, wants to reach full potential. That's the goal of it. When I say want, it's not like it has a desire. That's the tendency, in other words. You're welcome. Your spirit has a tendency toward evolution. This will help you reach your full potential. But when you don't identify with your spirit, when you get caught up in the illusions of mental concepts and constructs, how people see you, how they don't see you, how they treated you, how they didn't treat you, what you deserved, and your worth, and I'm this, and they're that, and we're different, and I'm this, and I'm more spiritual, and they're less. All of that is the realm of the ka. All of that is the realm of the ego. And when you get identified with that, you create suffering. Not only do you create suffering, you must learn the lessons from what you are identified with. When you identify with your ego and the egoic realm, you identify with consequences and loss and punishment and grief and getting whippings. Some people talk about their ancestors whipped them, and I'd be like, okay, this is how they see the world. The lens that they see through is the ka. I said this last night. You can tell what realm a person lives in by how they interpret situations.